Hey guys, the Sonos Beam Gen 2 is now being released and it will be in your hands by the 5th of October 2021, provided you have put in your order. So this is a second Sonos soundbar that supports Dolby Atmos, the first being the Sonos Arc, launched just over a year ago, and this comes in at right about half the price. So is this half the sound? Let's see what the Sonos Beam Gen 2 is bringing to the table. So today I have an unboxing. This is just some footage of me unboxing it. So I have the Sonos Beam Gen 2 in black, and as you can see, dimensions wise, it's going to be quite similar to the Gen 1 Sonos Beam. So the controls on the top panel are exactly the same. Most of the differences that you can see visually is going to come down to this grill. So I literally had a clash of these two soundbar. I'm very sorry, Sonos, about this soundbar. They kind of hit each other, and if you see the damage that is being done to the cloth grill, this is the Sonos Beam Gen 1, and there is a slight nick on the side of the Sonos Beam Gen 2. So which one is more durable? Well, the polycarbonate. It wasn't an intentional test, I'm sorry, not a test of the durability, but well, this cloth grill on the Gen 1 has a tendency to turn a little bit yellowish, so I don't think it's as white as the top panel is. The top panel is polycarbonate, so it stays pretty white, but the grill, the cloth grill, and this is how it looks and feel like, is gonna get a little bit yellowish over time. That is if you opted for the white. So the new Gen 2 has black and has white, and the rear is going to be color coded. So that is all the differences that you're going to see between the Gen 1 and the Gen 2 from a physical standpoint. Now, the most important part of this upgrade from the Gen 1 in white to the Gen 2 in black is the presence of Atmos. Now, there will be quite a few videos out there already who has been talking about this Gen 2, what features it has. It supports DTS:X, it has Dolby Atmos, it's got the NFC pairing. So I'll skip that, right? And I'll go right straight to the most important thing that is going to help you guys guide your decision, which is how does it sound? So for those of you who are not familiar with my channel, I do in-depth testing on audiophile products and more, right? But when it comes to Sonos products, I actually pay special attention to it, and I do a lot of in-depth reviews. So I have lined up some, like the testing the Sonos Beam with the sub, with another sub, with dual sub setup against the Sonos Arc, and basically just delving right into what this little guy is capable of doing. So for those of you who have not been subscribed to my channel and are still watching this, if you like to be kept informed when my videos are released, do remember to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell. So in summary, of course, the Sonos Beam Gen 2 is going to sound a little bit different from the Sonos Beam Gen 1. For one thing, the sound support is completely different. How they actually portray Dolby Atmos without the top firing speaker cones is kind of like a computational audio, if you get what I mean. So they use phase array, they calculate how your ears, how your mind, your brain perceives sound, and it tries to send out in-phase or rather out-of-phase sounds to trick your brain into thinking that the sound is coming from above you or from behind you. And how does it work? Well, actually, it doesn't work too bad. In terms of soundstage wise, when the two looks exactly the same, you're actually expecting that they sound pretty similar, but there is some computational wizardry inside this Gen 2 that is capable of throwing a wider soundstage than what we were used to in the Sonos Beam Gen 1. And the Sonos Beam Gen 1 is no slouch, okay? When I first heard the Sonos Beam Gen 1, I thought, like, this is 2 feet wide, right? Just 25 inches across. But it sounds like the sound is coming from, further to the left or further to the right of the soundbar. And in the Sonos Beam Gen 2, this is not disappointing at all. It actually somehow manages to throw a even wider soundstage. The bass coming out of the Sonos Beam Gen 2 is going to be a little bit more pronounced than the Gen 1, But when it comes to the treble, it is a little bit more subdued. Okay, and if I were to pull up the chart, you will be able to see what I'm talking about. Okay, and this is my frequency response chart. Okay, first time seeing this, let me tell you, what I do is I play a frequency sweep all the way from 20 Hertz, which is very low bass, to 20 kilohertz through the Sonos Beam, and I measure it with a mic and it charts out the response. So technically, all the amplitude of every individual frequency between 20 Hertz and 20,000 Hertz are going to be played at the same amplitude, but because of the room, because of the whole Sonos Beam, the whole hardware itself is going to come out a little bit different. So in the green curve that you're looking at right now, you will see that this is the Sonos Beam Gen 1, and this is how it sounds like in my living room. Now this test has been carried out in the living room, so it's going to look a little bit different from my other videos for the Gen 1 Sonos Beam. Okay, but you will see that, well, the bass is slightly pronounced, and at the treble, it's not exactly a flat curve, but that also makes the sound slightly more exciting. So this is the Beam Gen 1 without TruePlay. Now I'm going to bring up the curve, a little bit pinkish looking one. This is the Sonos Beam Gen 2 without TruePlay. Right? So right off, this helps to substantiate what I was talking about earlier, that you will hear that the Gen 2 actually has a better bass response. And this is actually pretty significant, right? Anything below 200 Hertz is actually being lifted quite significantly. Well, below 40 Hertz, I would say take it with a pinch of salt. I don't think the soundbar is going to be generating 30, 40 Hertz of frequency. But you might hear something, but well, it's not the quality bass that you are expecting. So right at about 230, 240 Hertz, thereabout, the sound signature switches over, right? So you see the Beam Gen 2, the one in pink, it actually has a more subdued treble. So why is this so? I'm not very sure, but you know, that's how phase arrays work, right? Phase array kind of like tries to cancel out some of the frequencies to steer, to help guide the sound, so that you might think that, hey, the sound is actually coming from the left or further back when it is not. So it is all this computational audio that is helping you feel like this single soundbar is capable of throwing out an Atmos sound. Now, the third curve I'm going to throw out is a darker green curve, right? This is the Sonos Beam Gen 1, the one that is highlighted in yellow now. This Gen 1 after TruePlay. So you see that if Gen 1 before TruePlay was a little bit anemic in the bass department, TruePlay actually helps boost the Gen 1 up to the point where, hey, actually it doesn't sound that far behind in the bass department from the Gen 1. So this is something that TruePlay is doing, and it's quite magical if you ask me. Okay, but it does bring down this particular treble a little bit, so it doesn't sound that shrill and that high. Now the last curve I'm going to bring up is the Sonos Beam Gen 2 with TruePlay turned on, and this is the bright red. So it boosts the bass up a little bit more. The treble is kind of untouched, maybe a little bit higher point at about 4 kilohertz or so. You'll start to roll it off a little bit, but otherwise before 2 kilohertz, I would say, it does boost the whole response a little bit, well, at least for my room. So your experience may differ because TruePlay actually tunes the sound bars according to your environment. If you have a bigger space or a smaller space, or if you have some couch that is bigger or smaller than mine, then it's going to affect whether your curtains are drawn or not. It will also change the sound profile. Okay, so enough with the frequency sweeps. Recently, I've been kind of busy and kind of tied up with a couple of things, so I wasn't able to put out as many videos as I can, and this test of the Sonos Beam Gen 2 was actually going to require me to rewire a couple of things, change the setup around a little bit, so it took me quite a bit of time, and I had to move these around the house, place it, make sure that it's all in the proper position, which is why they had a clash earlier and there was a slight nick. So why I did the moving around and all was to show you how these two sound like in a binaural recording. So binaural means I'm actually wearing two little mics in my ear. So whatever I'm hearing, recording is actually what you will be hearing, but I would prefer that you put on a pair of headphones so it sounds like that. And it will pick up some noise, right? Whether the air conditioner is running, whether there's some slight rustling on the couch, you will hear some of these, and that is just part of the whole natural recording of what I'm hearing through the Beam Gen 1 and the Beam Gen 2. So I've done two exact setups. The first setup was actually on a TV without Atmos support. It has HDMI ARC but has no Dolby Atmos support. So when you play anything through the TV, it's just going to be standard surround sound. And with that, you will actually notice that the difference is going to be quite small, whether you are using the Gen 2 or even the Gen 1. The sound of a non-Dolby Atmos track is going to be pretty small. And you can hear it in my recording later, right? I'll push it all the way to the end of the video. You will run through those 4 recordings and you can hear. So the first recording is for the Sonos Beam Gen 2 on a non-Atmos TV. The second recording is for the Sonos Beam Gen 1 on a non-Atmos TV. You'll hear that the sound difference is very minimal. Then the next two tests will be the Sonos Beam Gen 2 on the LG CX, which is an Atmos capable TV with HDMI eARC that will be able to pass full bandwidth through HD Dolby Atmos signals to the soundbar. And you will be able to hear that, hey, okay, now things are starting to open up and the whole dynamic range is a lot wider. You may notice that in the last test, the Sonos Beam Gen 1 is sounding a lot louder, all right? But loud doesn't mean the sound quality is better. Loud, it could mean that a lot of the sound dynamic range is getting compressed. So everything just sounds loud. In the third recording, you will hear the Sonos Beam Gen 2 on the LG CX playing an Atmos track through HD, full lossless Atmos. And the sounds may be a little bit softer, but you'll hear the layering of the sound a little bit better. And the whole stage is really, really going to be opened up. So for those of you who are contemplating whether to upgrade from the Gen 1 Beam to the Gen 2 Beam, I would say that if you have an Atmos TV, I think that is probably the way to go, and you don't want to spend the full amount on a Sonos ARC. But if you are sticking around with a non-Atmos capable TV and you are not listening to Atmos capable content, my suggestion is stick to the Gen 1. But it is not like they are selling both at the same time. Anything that they are selling, all the beams that they're going to be pushing out from a certain point onwards is going to be the Sonos Beam Gen 2. The price difference is there. I think it's about $50, 50 US dollars or so. In Singapore, I think the price, I can't remember, maybe it's about $100 more. But oh yes, it's $799 if I'm not mistaken. So I wanted to keep this video short and let you hear the sound recording for yourself. So I'm going to be covering a few more videos and covering this Sonos Beam Gen 2. If there's anything that you would like to know, please leave them in the comment section below and I will try to answer, or I will try to incorporate the testing in my next video. But right off, I'm going to be testing the Sonos Beam Gen 2 against the Sonos ARC, which is the other Dolby Atmos capable soundbar from Sonos. Obviously, they're not going to be in the same dimension, but the question to answer is, it is twice the price, but is it twice as good? I'll catch you in our next video. Meanwhile, enjoy the video clips.
This is Dolby Atmos, the world's first object-based cinematic audio. With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels to moving around you with pinpoint accuracy. Whether the soundscape sits the mood of a scene,
What is this place? Come on, you guys, let's go!
or captures the full extent.
Do you want to know my secret?
of nature's fury. This is Dolby Atmos, the world's first object-based cinematic audio. With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels to moving around you with pinpoint accuracy. Whether the soundscape sets the mood of a scene,
Whoa! What is this place? Come on, you guys, let's go!
or captures the full extent
Do you want to know my secret?
of nature's fury.